Liverpool rocked by shock twists on and off the pitch. Don't miss a second. Subscribe now for instant Reds updates, exclusives, and breaking alerts.
Slot to leave Liverpool. Klopp approached. Guardiola quits Man City. And Alonso hired as senior source predicts most likely manager changes. A senior reporter at ESPN has detailed what he believes are the most likely outcomes regarding what's shaping up to be an insane managerial merry-go-round involving Liverpool, Manchester City, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, and others in the summer. Just as intriguing as which big-name players move where in the summer will be which high-profile managers also land new jobs. Arne Slot is under increasing pressure to qualify for the Champions League, and at present that looks a task beyond the Dutchman's capabilities. Pep Guardiola is not expected to sign a new contract at Man City and could walk away. Real Madrid will hire a permanent successor to Xabi Alonso, with Alvaro Arbeloa only filling in on a temporary basis at present. Changes at those three clubs could be just the tip of the iceberg, and many would have knock-on effects at other clubs too. Now, ESPN's senior reporter Mark Ogden has shared his thoughts on the pieces that will move around Europe and the Premier League. In an article explaining his most likely outcomes, Ogden began by stating Michael Carrick will be hired by Manchester United as their permanent boss. Carrick has won 4 from 4 so far, and if qualifying for the UCL, he'll stand a very good chance of getting the nod outright. Liverpool, meanwhile, are tipped to dispense with Slot, which will then spark a battle with Bayern Munich to appoint Xabi Alonso. The obvious question to ask at this point is why would Bayern need Alonso when they have Vincent Kompany? Ogden predicted Kompany will be lured to Man City to replace the outbound Guardiola, thus prompting Bayern to battle with Liverpool for Alonso. Real Madrid are projected to make an audacious approach for Jurgen Klopp, which is expected to be rebuffed by the German, who remains happy in his role as head of soccer at Red Bull. Instead, Los Blancos will then attempt to bring Zinedine Zidane back to the Bernabeu for a third spell. The difficulty there lays in the fact Zidane already has a verbal agreement in place to succeed Didier Deschamps as manager of the French national side after the 2026 World Cup. Ogden also predicted Newcastle and England to swap managers, with Eddie Howe taking the reins with England after the World Cup and Tuchel succeeding Howe at St. James Park. Regarding Tottenham and the doomed-looking Thomas Frank, Ogden expects Mauricio Pochettino to return once he's wrapped up commitments with the USA at the World Cup. Latest Liverpool news. Fans weigh in on Slot and Konate developments. In other news, Liverpool supporters appeared divided on fresh claims that the club should sack Slot and appoint Xabi Alonso as his replacement, with some fans picking out 3 other preferred options, and amid a damning stat which suggests the Dutchman could be on borrowed time. Elsewhere, Konate's stance on signing a new contract at Anfield has angered Liverpool, who've just launched a countermeasure.
Liverpool plotting summer swoop for Serie A revelation as Arne Slot's sack now down to one critical factor. Liverpool are reportedly ready to go toe-to-toe with Premier League rivals in the race to sign a top Serie A playmaker this summer, while Arne Slot will be sacked unless he manages to tick one critical box in the remainder of the season. Even if doubts remain over Slot's long-term Anfield tenure, thoughts also remain constant over the summer window and areas of Liverpool's first team that need bolstering. The attacking third is a particular area of concern, with no guarantees over Mo Salah's future, while many Liverpool fans have also turned against Slot favourite Cody Gakpo. Liverpool monitoring Milan attacker. Liverpool are reportedly keeping tabs on AC Milan attacker Christian Pulisic as uncertainty continues to grow over his future at the San Siro, although they will have strong competition for his signature. According to Italian outlet Mercato Web, the USA international is taken aback by a lack of a formal renewal offer from Milan, despite a verbal agreement appearing close late last year. Pulisic, who has reinvented himself in Italy after quitting Chelsea back in 2023, fits the profile of the type of player who would excel at Anfield, given his high-octane style of play. Indeed, under Massimiliano Allegri, Pulisic has been a revelation this season, scoring 10 goals and grabbing 2 assists in 20 appearances. The 27-year-old has the flexibility to play as a second striker or on either flank and would be a perfect rotational squad piece for Slot, assuming the Dutchman remains in his role. While Arsenal are also mentioned in the report with interest in the player, their North London rivals Tottenham Hotspur are also known to be in the mix. At this stage, it's reported that Milan will demand a fee of around €55 million, £48 million or $65 million for Pulisic, which is more than reasonable for an experienced international who has previous Premier League experience and has made a big name for himself in Italy. Indeed, in 120 games for Milan, Pulisic has managed to chalk up 42 goals and 25 assists across all competitions. FSG warming to Arne Slot's sack idea. Liverpool will place a serious question mark over Arne Slot's Anfield future if the club fail to qualify for the Champions League, with the worrying financial reality of the club's woeful campaign dawning on owners FSG. As it stands, 5th spot is on course to be good enough for a place, just as it was last season. However, Slot's men currently sit 6th after Manchester United and Chelsea both benefited from mid-season managerial changes that has seen a surge in their form and results. Despite Slot overseeing a disastrous Premier League title defence, trusted reporters continue to state that he has the backing of the club's hierarchy. And while they are confident he can turn the season around, Football Insider's Pete O'Rourke claims that it's beginning to dawn on Liverpool that missing out on UCL football is no longer a fear, but the reality. O'Rourke reports that failure to qualify for the Champions League, along with the gigantic guaranteed funding that provides, will result in the Reds placing a serious question mark over whether Slot should continue at Anfield. In other words, it may now be a simple case of failure to qualify for the UCL will prompt the axe to fall in the summer. The report did stress, however, that Slot is not in danger of being sacked during the season and that he will be given every chance to engineer a strong end to the campaign. Liverpool green-light Jacquet plans after serious injury. Team Talk sources have revealed to us that Liverpool are prepared to green-light surgery for new signing Jeremy Jacquet, with Arne Slot left cursing the news that the club's new £60 million signing has suffered a serious shoulder injury. The 20-year-old finalised his move to Liverpool on deadline day, ahead of a summer switch to Anfield. However, the timeline on that move is now in question, as the Reds nervously await developments over their big-money signing. The France under-21 international suffered the injury when he fell awkwardly during his side's 3-1 defeat to Lens at the weekend, and sources have confirmed that a concerned Liverpool have been in touch with their French counterparts to make clear their preferred course of action. Indeed, the Reds have made their position very clear. If surgeons deem it necessary, the club want it carried out as soon as possible. Insiders say the Reds are focused on a swift, decisive medical pathway to protect the player's long-term development and to avoid prolonged uncertainty. Sources add that Liverpool's medical team have been liaising closely with Rennes doctors to share scans and reports, and that discussions over timing and the best surgical option are ongoing. The club's priority is to ensure Jacquet receives the most appropriate treatment while managing his rehabilitation under Liverpool's supervision once he is ready to move to Merseyside.
Liverpool are prepared to green-light surgery for new signing Jeremy Jacquet, sources have confirmed to Team Talk, and with a down-on-his-luck Arne Slot cursing the disappointing news that the Frenchman has suffered an injury. The 20-year-old finalized his move to Liverpool on deadline day last Monday, with the Reds beating Chelsea to his signature, though his €60 million, €69 million, $82 million move to Anfield was always slotted to go through on July 1, with all parties in agreement that Jacquet will see out the season in France. Now, though, a serious shoulder injury has put his immediate plans on hold and left the Reds nervously awaiting developments over their big-money signing. Indeed, just days after that high-profile transfer from Rennes was completed, the France under-21 international suffered a worrying injury, the center-half falling awkwardly during his side's 3-1 defeat to Lens at the weekend. Now, with the player undergoing assessment, sources have confirmed that a concerned Liverpool FC have been in touch with their French counterparts to make clear their preferred course of action. Liverpool have already been in direct contact with Jacquet's camp and made their position clear. If surgeons deem an operation necessary, the club want it carried out as soon as possible. Insiders say the Reds are focused on a swift, decisive medical pathway to protect the player's long-term development and to avoid prolonged uncertainty. Sources add that Liverpool's medical team have been liaising closely with Rennes's doctors to share scans and reports, and that discussions over timing and the best surgical option are ongoing. The club's priority is to ensure Jacquet receives the most appropriate treatment while managing his rehabilitation under Liverpool's supervision once he is ready to move to Merseyside. Slot bemoans Jacquet injury as Liverpool await final assessment. As it stands, the injury is understood to be significant enough to warrant serious consideration of surgery, but final decisions will rest on specialist assessments in the coming days. Liverpool's stance, to proceed quickly if required, underlines how highly they rate Jacquet and their desire to get him integrated into the squad as soon as he is fit. In the meantime, Slot was asked about Jacquet's injury during his press conference over Tuesday lunchtime, and the Dutchman was quick to have a little moan at his side's poor fortune this season. With Dominic Szoboszlai suspended for Wednesday's clash at Sunderland, and with defenders Joe Gomez, Connor Bradley, or Jeremy Frimpong available to cover at right back, Slot was asked if his side had been unlucky with injuries. "It feels like that is for sure. Even if we sign a player and he's not even playing for us, he gets injured," Slot said of Jacquet. "But the moment you think it's just bad luck, then it comes to you as well, so we need to keep away from that and focus on improving performances. The amount of times we are conceded late on is more than usual, so what's the reason for that? I can definitely say we haven't been lucky, that is true, but is it bad luck or who we are? We will find out over rest of season." Meanwhile, Liverpool supporters appeared divided on fresh claims that the club should sack Slot and appoint Xabi Alonso as his replacement, with some fans picking out 3 other preferred options, and amid a damning stat which suggests the Dutchman could be on borrowed time. On the subject of Slot and a number of his peers and rivals, a senior reporter has detailed what he believes are the most likely outcomes regarding what's shaping up to be an insane managerial merry-go-round involving Liverpool, Man City, Bayern, Real, and others in the summer. In other news, Ibrahima Konate's stance on signing a new contract at Anfield has angered Liverpool, who've just launched a countermeasure.
Liverpool warming to the idea of sacking Arne Slot as dire financial reality hits FSG. Liverpool will place a serious question mark over the future of Arne Slot at Anfield if one thing happens in the coming months, and the worrying financial reality of the Reds' shambolic season is dawning on owners FSG. Liverpool are presiding over a pitiful title defense, and over their last 20 league matches have returned a record of 6 wins, 6 draws, and 8 defeats. That equates to a winning percentage of 30, and across an entire campaign, that is what teams who narrowly avoid relegation generally produce. The 5-match winning streak at the beginning of the campaign has spared Liverpool's blushes with regards to being mentioned alongside a relegation scrap. However, the dismal form that followed has thrown up the very real prospect of Liverpool not qualifying for the Champions League. Fifth spot is on course to be good enough for a place, just as it was last season. However, Liverpool sits sixth in the table, with both Manchester United and Chelsea in fourth and fifth respectively surging after making mid-season managerial changes. Despite Slot overseeing a ghoulish campaign, the common consensus among all trusted reporters was the Dutchman retains the full backing of Liverpool's hierarchy. FSG believes Slot will turn the ship around and qualify for the UCL, but with each passing week, the chances of achieving that aim are dwindling. And according to the latest from Football Insider's Pete O'Rourke, it's beginning to dawn on Liverpool that missing out on UCL football is no longer a fear, but the reality. O'Rourke explained that failure to qualify for the Champions League and secure the gigantic guaranteed funding that provides will result in Liverpool placing a serious question mark over whether Slot should continue at Anfield. In other words, it may now be a simple case of failure to qualify for the UCL will prompt the axe to fall in the summer. The report stressed Slot is not in danger of being sacked during the season. He will be given the remaining 13 matches to attempt to guide Liverpool into the top 5. But failure to do so could bring major change in the dugout in the summer, and as is generally the case in football, the reasons will be financial. O'Rourke noted the absence of the guaranteed money UCL football brings would provide a huge financial blow to a club that forked out nearly £500 million on new players last summer. Another consequence of Liverpool's colossal spend on big-name stars is their wage bill is now the highest in the Premier League, according to Deloitte. And with Liverpool already penciling in $60 million for Jeremy Jacquet and requiring a second center-back if Ibrahima Konate leaves on a free, plus a new left winger, it's imperative for the club and for Slot's own employment that a top 5 place is secured against all odds. Slot losing Carragher support. One of Slot's biggest backers in public this season has been Reds icon Jamie Carragher. The ex-defender's support for Slot reached fever pitch during the fallout between the Dutchman and Mohamed Salah in late 2025. In an attempt to throw his full backing behind Slot, Carragher launched a poisonous character assassination on Salah, labeling him a disgrace, among other things. Yet Carragher now appears to be realizing there are far bigger problems at Liverpool than just the declining form of an all-time great. Speaking to Sky Sports in late January, Carragher claims Slot would not have a leg to stand on with regards to remaining Liverpool's manager if they missed out on Champions League football. And after the defeat to Manchester City on Sunday, Carragher now believes Liverpool will fail to qualify for Europe's top competition. Asked if he thinks Liverpool will make the UCL spots, Carragher said, "No, right now I don't. They would have to have a huge upturn in form, and the ones above them are in great form." On how damaging the City defeat truly is, Carragher added, "It's a bad one. When you look at the league for Liverpool, it looks like a long way to get into the top 5 Champions League positions. There's a gap now. You can make that up, but Liverpool will have to do well in the 2 cup competitions to save the season." Latest Liverpool news. Fans weigh in on Slot Konate developments. In other news, Liverpool supporters appear divided on fresh claims that the club should sack Slot and appoint Xabi Alonso as his replacement, with some fans picking out 3 other preferred options, and amid a damning stat which suggests the Dutchman could be on borrowed time. Elsewhere, Konate's stance on signing a new contract at Anfield has angered Liverpool, who've just launched a countermeasure.
I could have signed for Liverpool ahead of Virgil van Dijk. Now I'm a free agent. A former Liverpool transfer target has recalled turning down the Reds at the start of an exciting new era. Ex-Liverpool target Mattia De Sciglio has opened up about his decision to reject the Reds in favor of a move to Juventus. The Italian passed up the chance to join one of Anfield's most successful recent squads and is now on the market as a free agent. De Sciglio, 33, was turning heads at AC Milan when Liverpool expressed interest in the summer of 2017. Jurgen Klopp was still assembling the backbone of a team destined for great success, with his defense notably taking shape during the 2017-18 campaign. Trent Alexander-Arnold had a standout season under the German at right back, while Andrew Robertson also joined to bolster the left side of defense. To cap it all, Virgil van Dijk arrived in January 2018 to partner Joel Matip, who had arrived from Schalke 18 months earlier. Former Italy international De Sciglio, part of the squad that reached the Euro 2016 quarterfinals and scored in the penalty shootout defeat by Germany, caught the Reds' eye with his performances. However, he chose to reunite with his ex-Milan boss, Massimiliano Allegri, at Juve instead. Speaking to calciomercato.com, he recalled, "Liverpool also wanted me, but I chose Turin. Allegri was on the bench, and the team was really strong. And finding myself in a dressing room full of champions, after also playing a key role in the European Championship, was a great revenge after the difficult period I had gone through." The choice proved a wise move in the end, as De Sciglio secured 3 Serie A championships and 2 Coppa Italia trophies in Turin before heading out on loan to Lyon in 2020. He subsequently returned to the club for a few years before joining Empoli on loan last season. However, his contract wasn't extended in the summer of 2025, leaving him without a club for the past 7 months. De Sciglio's career trajectory might have been completely different had he opted for Merseyside instead. With Van Dijk strengthening the defense soon after Liverpool showed interest in signing him, it's impossible to know what silverware he might have collected. The Reds have recruited several Italian players in recent times, with young defender Giovanni Leoni arriving in 2025, a year after Federico Chiesa's transfer. Before that, though, Mario Balotelli was the last Italian to join the club back in 2014. Capable of operating on both sides, De Sciglio represents exactly the sort of adaptable talent that's becoming more valued by modern elite managers. Klopp was certainly familiar with this approach, frequently prepared to deploy players in alternative positions. As time has passed, De Sciglio has transitioned into a more central position, a common shift for fullbacks in the twilight of their careers. He spent a significant part of his solitary season with Empoli playing as a centre-back and could have been paired with Van Dijk had things panned out differently. In his quest to secure a new club, De Sciglio continues to train daily. However, it's highly doubtful that Liverpool will reignite their interest unless they're suddenly hit by a fresh injury crisis.